Okay. And you begin.
Number 4 yet.
Volume number 4?
Yeah.
I just bought 3.
Oh, really? Yeah, you weren't invested until you finished 2, were you?
Nope.
Are we recording?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
This is where the best shit happens.
Yep. Look who's back. It's us. And you, if you've been here before.
And me.
Today you've still only got 1 Master of Mediocrity, me, and 1...
Lieutenant of Literation? Jessica. It's something.
It's a thing. What have we got today, Lieutenant?
Today we've got The Blood, Volume 2 of the Monstress series by Marjorie and Sana Takeda. I wish I knew I was saying that right. The award winner, the bestseller, the Baroque art comic book that we have spoken about once before, that you didn't read, Double M. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I have to say that this is the redemption episode that no one saw coming. I read that first volume, damn it. Our volume 1 episode convinced me to go back and try it again, and I'm glad I did. Yay! It was fucking fantastic.
Yay!
The violence wasn't as tense as it was the first time I read it. The art wasn't as overwhelming. I didn't think there were too many words on the pages. It was actually engrossing.
I'm so happy right now. I'm not going to say I told you so.
I will casually ignore that. We're here to talk about Volume 2. So, yeah, me reading the first one has nothing really to do with Volume 2, right? Except that it means I can actually talk about it, and I finished reading 2 books.
Yay! Hey, and they're 2 kind of hefty books as well, so there's something.
That is fucking true. Yeah, it was hella impressive that I finished it. And good news for listeners and you alike. The plot, the setting, the theme, nothing changes. It's still fantasy.
You were the one that changed.
I was the one who changed. I came around to accepting this story as the fantastic thing that it is. And if I can change, anyone can change. But yeah, it's still, influenced by the non-Western themes that we were talking about before. It's still got horror and kind of a celestial horror thing going on. There's espionage, there's betrayal, treachery, pirates. Loved it, want more of it.
And matrilineal societies as well, in there sometimes.
That's really the only thing that matters, frankly. Things should be carried on by our mothers. I mean, they do most of the work when it comes to creating and maintaining a family, but whatever. Anyway, this book really grew the universe in a way that I liked. We learned quite a bit more about Micah, the heroine's mother.
Mm-hmm.
We got more clues in the mystery of who she was and where she came from. Still really confused about whether or not Micah's mom is a good person. Signs point to no.
Well,
signs are mixed.
Mixed signals from Mama.
That's fair. Everyone's a really unreliable narrator in their own story, right? And it certainly helps when the last time you saw her was a child and you were in the middle of a fucking war. But,
things exploded. Bad things happened.
Yeah, maybe we can be a little forgiving. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we've got ghouls. We've got sirens, which were really great new contributions. I loved it.
Lesbian queens who are mixed race?
Yeah, I mean, one's a fucking god, right?
Yeah, I think she is a god, or like one of the old gods, like the original Siren Lady, maybe.
Yeah, what did they call them? The immortals, the originals, or something like that.
The originals. Pretty sure that's an NBC show.
Fair enough, but they had something about them being like the first.
Yeah,
whatever they.
Because they were around for when the big gods came in, the big squid-looking ones that
the squiggly shadow things.
They were there first before they came waltzing into the plane. So
yeah. But we also have demons, and I think that's kind of what more with the squiggly things, like the lesser things of the squiggly.
It's like they're rats.
Yeah. But I was very, very excited about it, and as you so gladly pointed out, this book has won a lot of freaking awards for its writing and its art.
Goddamn awards, man. They skipped all the awards. Words I didn't even know existed, to be honest, when I looked that up.
Yeah.
Goodness, it's a 2-page spread in the preview.
Yeah, like, so the first book won a lot of awards too, but even the second one itself has won awards, which was just phenomenal.
This is the third time I'm rereading Volume 1, and this is the second reread of Volume 2.
Okay.
So let me just say, this is my favorite read I've made of it so far, because every time you read it,
you get something different from it.
You pick up something different from it. And in the beginning of the trade, because that's what we're reading, Volume 1, at the end of the trade, Volume 1, Marjorie actually has a little, like a little afterword in there. And the way she talks about how the book is not so much really about the adventure, but as it is about war and post-war and sort of the environment that people find themselves in and around, all of those major mechanisms. The Professor Tam stuff is so much more impactful when read through that lens, especially in Volume 2, because it does so much painting for the in-between caps really have a greater purpose of this is sort of
which is a really great writing thing. It's a pacing thing, because Professor Tam is this cat teacher who's teaching a bunch of kittens,
the cutest little kittens
with teaching about their history for just because you're supposed to teach history.
You're supposed to tell kids what happened in the past.
Yeah, so she's teaching them in between issues
in a scientifically based way. Here's first-hand literature and examples.
Anthropological way.
That's what
there
it
you
is.
Go. That really takes the burden off of our characters doing the narrating, because Professor Tam's stories are connected across multiple issues, which provide us history, which introduce us to new characters, because she's interacting with the kittens, in and outside of classrooms and with artifacts, and giving us kind of a better idea of what's going on and what's in this world, which is it's a great way to break it up and a great way to kind of bring that context in slowly, rather than having to spend 4 issues building the world. She can just be this is relevant as it comes up, or it might be relatively irrelevant to what's going on in the story, but provide you that context.
Deepens your understanding of why things are impactful, what choices people make and the way people react to things that are happening. It really helps deepen your understanding. World building, dude. So good.
It is so good. One of my notes was that they're not overbearing with the influence of things. So a lot of ways that people want to traditionally show matriarchal societies is by pointing out how it's not run by men. Instead of showing how it's run by women, they're just very much we don't need man. It's kind of the context that I've always seen it traditionally. What I like about this one is that in this universe, it's never really been run by men. So there's no need to show it's not men who are doing it. Instead, they just changed it to, oh goddesses, rather than oh gods. They changed the language in a way where everyone's using it, and it seems natural in the universe, that it's not pointing out that it's not men. It's just pointing out, it's making it so natural that it's women who are in charge, and that's just the way it is. And I really, really enjoy that they did it. Instead of motherfucker, it was sisterfucker or fatherfucker or something like that. They changed it a lot in subtle ways where it feels different, but not overbearingly so.
Yeah. And I think it's more than 50% female characters in
I think so too.
The book. And
I can only think of 3 men that they directly interact with.
Yeah.
4. 2 of whom are tigers and her goddess fathers.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the I'm always suspicious whenever I think that, because your brain's kind of geared that if you even see 50-50, it's there's more women than men, but it's not. It's just 50-50 representation. So I'm always but no, it is. And I didn't really pick up on the depth and breadth of the matriarchal society until you're sitting here talking about it some. The only thing that really jumped out at me was some of the in-between literature and backstory. There were a couple of them with propaganda-esque, like World War II era almost pictures of soldiers.
Yeah.
But all the soldiers got tits, yo. Like, and every time I was like, huh. And then I was like, oh, it's the nuns. Like, it's the nuns. But no, not all of them are, like, actual straight-up nuns. They're more...
the layman.
Yeah, they're like the people who are just like, I don't have the abilities, the psychic abilities that sometimes run in the females of the humans, but I can hold a sword, so here I am. Or I can hold a musket. And that's the other thing, too, is they seem to even, like, lay in there that, yeah, the reason it's matrilingual is because the females sometimes have superpowers.
Yes.
That's why.
Totally, which is great. Like, it's still
cool.
it's great. I also think when, you talked about the war, and I think one of the other good things that they did when it comes to the world building, is every character that they really interact with is impacted by the war, but in different ways.
Yes.
Micah, our main character, was a child during it, but now she has this child who's following her, who, when they ask her question, the child's been asked, like, what, do you remember this? Do you remember that? Do you remember these things? And the child talks about how, she talks about stuff from before that her family kept going, and it really demonstrates that aside from a diversity of cast that in different physical forms and whatnot, there is a diversity in kind of emotional impacts and characters and characterizations.
Yeah, like, because her family really holds the line through the war, and kind of, like, obviously this child is traumatized because in the first volume she was in slavery camp and sold to certainly die, but was able to keep some emotional intelligence through it. Like, it's weird. People, like, kids born post 9/11, for instance, have a very different opinion of the world than people who were born pre 9/11, and I think that's pretty intelligent for them to have different groups of people handled different ways. So I did want to talk about the fact that the main character's line that really developed in volume 2 for me, that I really was happy they did, was, like, the protagonist's ability to record memory from when all of that traumatic shit was happening. It did a really good job of, like, kind of showing that it's like a trip to regain power over those traumatic experiences in her life by, like, reevaluating her experiences with her mother, getting better examples. Like, the last scene is sort of redemptive of the mother, because she gets some pretty, like we said earlier, we don't know if the mom's a good guy or not, but, like, latches on to a good memory of her mother, where her mother was really shown as caring about her, and just kind of the spotty element of memory for both the protagonist and the, like, god that is trapped inside of her, and how both of them were kind of created by trauma and distance and time trying to, like, detangle that element.
Yeah. They both have had to make some very bad decisions, and they've had a lot of, one more so than the other has had a lot of bad things happen to them.
Yeah.
Micah has, I think, been more of a victim than
an antagonist. Definitely.
But she's definitely following in those paths, though, the path of that monster inside of her, where her decisions are going to come bite her in the butt. And as someone who just really got into this series, like, I have no idea what's going to happen next, and I'm kind of excited. Like, because she got a pretty damn good warning. All right, so let's kind of go into the favorite character things, because there's Captain. I can't decide between my two.
Okay,
I'm going to start with the easiest one. Is Professor Tam Tam might be my favorite, just because she's so informative. She's adorable, great character design. But Captain Sarissa is another fave. She's the captain of the pirate boat. She's definitely more human. She's confident, she's bold, she's very astute, and she really just gets Micah in a way that I don't think Micah is going to ever accept. And she has a great warning about how Micah needs to watch herself, or she's going to be causing more problems than solving them.
Yeah.
With just how forward and blunt Micah is.
She's a blunt force trauma.
Yeah. And it really, Micah better watch herself, is where I'm going with that one. But...
Well, and I don't know. I'm kind of stuck on the duality of the two main females in this, Micah and the little fox kid, because they're both sort of two sides of like the coin that is childhood trauma, you know? Like,
yeah,
one's a pretty healthy embodiment of like how to come out of it whole, and the other one's just in the angry spot still, and they're just both very...
They're kind of... I don't want to go so far as to say that they're foils of each other, but like Micah is still very juvenile. But she's very adult in the amount of, in what she's had to do in just, I mean, her literal age. Whereas the little fox pup is very juvenile because she's a child, but she's also very adult in the decisions that she's making and how she's handling it. So it's like they're very...
yin and yang kind of.
Yeah, and it's almost like an opportunity for Micah to redeem herself and to heal herself and caring for this pup.
And like, kind of like herself too as a child, because like there's like the scene where she learns how to swim and she's like, she can swim now, you know, and it's kind of like her making, I don't know, I read it as sort of her making peace with the way that she was raised, like how her mom taught her the harsh way. And then there's like the scene where she's like, well, there people write things on the back of pictures, and like pulls the pictures out. Here, let me show you. I think that was volume 1. But like, she's like, I don't even know basic shit like this, you know? And like, it was really angry for her on that. And then the other one, it was really peaceful. So I think they're both like agents of growth for the other character, because obviously the little one's getting a crash course in how to beat shit up.
Yes. And she's making some pretty big decisions.
Yeah.
So this book is so good. And I'm actually going to be sad when it stops winning awards. And I almost wonder if they'll just stop giving it awards, because like at some point they might just be like, oh, volume 3 is the same as volume 2. You're not giving us anything new. But it's still just kind of fantastic. And I have no idea what's next.
I know what I want to see happen, or at least the characters I want explored more. I want answers. That's all I want.
Yeah. More information would be great. And, I mean, I don't want so much information that they end up getting like bogged down in the world building part. Like, comics really have a great way of growing the world through conversation, and you have to connect dots in ways that in novels they can explicitly state for you. And the way they write those conversations and the way they build it still feels kind of natural, and still is a great way of creating those connections and building that structure of understanding the characters. Like the pirates. Yeah. That was phenomenal work.
So, very quickly done too. Like they did it succinctly. It's not like they're taking their time about any of this, except for like, I mean, they are in some things, but they're not. Like, they're giving you the bones very quickly. And I think it's kind of funny that you even were talking about how natural it is, because I'm very interested in like an omnibus version of this with a little bit of like their creative process, because these two work exclusively together on this. It's just the same two people through all 4 trades so far. And I don't know who does what first. Like, I don't know how they do it. I can't tell just by looking at it. I think the bones of the story and the environment of the story are stars here. The dialogue isn't like something where I'm just going to like take it and just paste it on my wall because it's like so impactful and amazing. But it's good. Yeah. It's good. It gives you the information you want. You can use it to like trace back to what's going on. But like the bones of the story and the world, that the reactions, the emotional depth, it's a lot on the art. But like, is the blocking the author? Because the author has very intelligent things to say about it, obviously. Like, I want to know how they work together.
So, like, yeah, I think I read a little bit about that, and unless I'm totally making it up, I think it did happen where Marjorie had the ideas first, and then talked about it a lot with Sana, and they just kind of fed off of each other. It was very much like she just let Sana do her own art and kind of build it, the design, and then, you know, they just kind of, it was very interwoven of kind of a mutual experience. The way you're talking about it, and like I don't know why I went there. Maybe it's the art that I went there, and like because of all the animal imagery, it kind of, and also because it doesn't have like one line that's going to give it all away. It feels like a fable, like a moral story of some point. Yeah, where instead of it being like you just can't do the last line of those fables and it just be like it makes all, sense. You have to have the context of the story. Like, if you want to talk about the tortoise and the hare, you have to give more context than the tortoise one. You have to talk about the hubris of the hare,
you
and
have to know a couple of things.
Yeah, and that's how it feels kind of here. There's no profound, there's hypothesis and, one sentence summary. It's very
it's so good.
It's like I don't know. I don't know a lot of literary terms. I'm mediocre, remember.
Well, I'm failing in my job because I don't know what the word would be either.
Allegory?
Allegory is a good... Yeah, because it does feel very much like we're talking about gods here after all. Allegory sounds right. We'll go with that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Parable.
Yeah, parable.
It's the parable of the monstrous.
The parable of the monstrous.
I found my new religion.
I don't know if it's been adapted into anything, though, or optioned.
I would be very surprised if it was an option for something, but I haven't heard of it either.
Like, reading it, there's obviously some material, and I find it more so with Marvel and DC, where it's, written, and some of the image stuff, where it's written for some adaptation.
Yeah.
And Monstress just doesn't have the feel. Like, it's a story. They're writing a story, but they're not writing a movie.
Yeah. They're definitely writing a comic book. That's the medium they've chosen, and they've made the story for it.
Yeah. I feel like if it was adapted into something, it'd be like a sci-fi show.
Yeah, and it would be, disappointing, strangely, it's one of those things that's too pure for that, I think.
Now, as someone who did a deep dive into K-dramas and Asian dramas, maybe if someone, in Asia picked it up. And then actually, thinking about that sounds problematic as fuck, because, they're both Asian creators, but, literally, if somebody not Hollywood picked this up, it probably would be done.
I could see it being a horror show, a horror movie or something, or a horror series.
Yeah.
I could see it if it was handled by somebody that wasn't going to westernize it. I could see it being true to sort of the underlying Oni sort of.
Because I imagine if it's more Western influence, it's going to be more of a male lead. Mm-hmm. It's going to be more sex and action than nuance, and
also less just sort of open-ended horror. This is sort of this is Eldritch horror right here, and America doesn't like to make Eldritch horror without giving you something to hold on to, like a raft. They're like, here's a raft to make it easy for you to digest. And Japan's like, everybody does.
Yep. Yep.
Suck it.
Yep. Suck it. Death is inevitable. Boop, boop. Do, 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 do. But yeah, no, great series, and thank you for changing my opinion on it, because I
did nothing, young one.
I'm excited to read Volume 3 and Volume 4 when that one hits the shelves.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us today.
Bye.
Bye.
How did that become a thing we do?
I don't know.
Just the fact that we even got any of this audio back is a win for me, to be honest.
Fair. All right, let's get this going.
Let's go.